This episode of the Oh No 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 podcast is sponsored by Dynamic Industrial Services, the rope access specialists. As long-time Raith Rovers supporters, we are very familiar with ropey performances. But if you need a service that's more Sam Stanton than Willie Accio, look no further than DIS. Operating across Scotland, they specialise in working at height, offering maintenance, inspection, repairs and more. So if you've got a problem at a height that even John Fredrickson can't reach, visit dynamicindustrialservices.co.uk to find out more.
Well, it was 1,148 days since Raith Rovers had effectively got a psychological bruising in a 4-4 draw against Hamilton Accies, and history has decided to repeat itself. While much has changed at both the clubs, including the managers, the owners and a lot of the players, yesterday saw a very, very similar end product to leave a sour taste in the Raith Rovers supporters' mouths. I'm your host on the Oh No 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 podcast tonight, Robbie Weir, and I am delighted to be joined by, firstly, just pray that he's not on your jury duty if it ever comes up. It's Mr. Callum Blythe. How you doing, Callum?
Just like the first Bulgarian-Croatian war, the Bulgarian has had a draw.
Well, today in the podcast, right, just to shed a bit of light on this, because he's not getting away this easily.
Fuck, right, here you go. Where's the leave button?
It's, there we go. Brilliant. Bodied him out the podcast. So it's Ali Pilmer's birthday, just to explain to everyone. So everyone's wishing Ali a very happy birthday. Who does Callum tag on WhatsApp for his birthday? Alan, when was your birthday?
May.
May. Well done, Callum. Well done.
I actually think I have
we do it in light
at this point.
I don't think dyslexia covers it, man. We've got one flugel over the cuckoo's nest. It's Iain Latto. How you doing, Iain?
Yeah, I'm not bad. Happy to pick over the bones of what on earth happened yesterday.
It was, unfortunately, we're the chosen few that get to do it. And an inspired debut that got overshadowed by Finley Pollock yesterday. We've got Alan Douglas Munn. How you doing, Alan?
I'm not bad, mate. Yeah, not bad. It's could be worse. We're scoring goals again, so you know that's we're part of the way there. Hopefully.
We'll come on to those and everything else in between. So yeah, just 2:00 yesterday, we got the starting lineup. So Neil Collins basically run the changes with that. Moved away from a back five. Iain, was that quite a positive move for you to see those changes? And
I think so.
Formation.
Even just getting Freeman in, playing a right back at right back. Alan, I enjoyed your rename checking the last podcast, so I appreciate that. My head would have exploded and it's been picking the bits up from it had we been playing Ross Matthews or Josh Mullen there. So I was delighted to see Freeman there. I thought he did really well. Gave us a lot more balance on that side and just was naturally in a much better position kind of throughout the game. Do you know what I mean? Just positionally, he gave us a lot more balance in that side. Going to 4-4-2 just makes much more sense with the squad we've got.
Yeah,
like we've got a squad with a lot of kind of wingers, and playing the three at the back. Obviously, you play with the wing backs, and then when you're playing actually someone that isn't a wing back in one of the wing back positions, it just didn't really work. So yeah, delighted to go back to the 4-4-2, and I thought it worked really well. Obviously, we didn't get the end result that we wanted, but the overall feeling in the team was much better, and I thought we got good performances out of the players who actually played well in that formation.
Yeah. So, Alan, we obviously, Freeman comes in, drops, Ewan Murray's obviously dropping out with suspension, and then on top of that, you've got Jack Hamilton comes in for Jamieson, Lewis Vaughan's in for Callum Smith, and Aidan Connolly returns to the squad in place of Josh Mullen. What were your sort of thoughts on the other three changes?
Yeah, positive. I mean, I think we look better with a fully fit, informed Jack Hamilton in the team. You know, he doesn't get as many goals as we would like, but he adds a kind of strength and a presence up front, and you know, he bullies defenders sometimes that he's got no right to be bullying. You know, get a big absolute brutes like he was facing yesterday, and he wins far more headers than he's entitled to. Obviously, there's not always someone there to get on them, but that's a separate issue. But yeah, I thought on the whole the changes were pretty positive. I mean, I'm one who thought that Hamilton and Vaughan looked like they were actually striking up a wee bit of partnership at one point last season. You know, they looked like they had a bit of an understanding there. And with Connolly's Connolly. You know, if we can get him anywhere close to being what he was sort of two seasons ago for us, 3 seasons ago for us, we've got one of the best attacking players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just not been happening for him, despite the fact that he's probably, I think he's maybe joint with Easton now as our top scorer, having scored all his goals in one game this season. But, you know, he's that game aside, he's not really hit the highs we expect from him. But you're always hopeful that he's going to come back.
Yeah, I think it's a really tricky one, and it was good to see him last so long in the game yesterday because of he's came in and out through injuries. It's not through sort of anything form related as such. He got his goal against Stranraer and then had to go off during the first half in that game. He comes back against Airdrie, then has to go off immediately, and then he's back in the team from the Pars game as a sub, and then starts yesterday. Callum, I just want to go back to something Iain mentioned. Do you think it was the change away from the back five to the sort of four at the back? We've obviously been a lot more familiar with that over the last few years. Do you think that was sort of, we were really reaping the benefits out of that yesterday and just overall? What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'd say it worked really well. I think it is something that the players are obviously more used to, and also I'm not against using a back five, back three, whatever you want to call it, but we need the personnel, we need fit players and whatnot for it to work. So going back to a back four, it just works with what we have right now, and it clearly showed.
Yeah, absolutely. You see you just saw a lot more structure, and again, it comes back to that point, and Ian's made it, but I think everyone could see it. The return of sort of Kieran Freeman coming in to offer that solidity down the right-hand side made a big difference. So, Iain, we start the game. First minute, it's just straight off the bat. Just talk us through the first goal and just your thoughts at that point.
It's just crazy, isn't it? It's just, it is Raith Rovers Football Club at the minute, in a 15-second or 20-second spell. It's just wild, just a long ball up the park. And I think it kind of holds up slightly. Liam Dick obviously tries to header it back to Dubrovsky. I was watching the highlights literally 10 minutes before he came on here, and I don't know what Kev's thinking, because Liam Dick is clearly struggling to get the purchase on the ball. You can tell by the way he's running, he's not going to get a lot on it.
Yeah.
And as you're watching Dubrovsky, as he's going to header it, he's almost on the back foot. He's literally taking like a step back. It's like, if you know your centre half is struggling to get a good purchase on the ball to head that back to you, you've got to come and meet it. You've got to be on the front foot and come and meet that ball. As such, it kind of holds up slightly, and then there's a coming together. I think Kev gets to the ball. It's difficult to tell 100%. I thought at the time, he's got two hands on that ball, or at least a fist on the ball, and he's the one that redirected it. Then there's obviously a coming together. It's up to a wee bit of interpretation as to, like, it's one of those ones where you probably have seen them given and you've seen them not given. It's just the run of the things that, the run of the way things are going right now, that it was given. The penalty is hit low and it's hit hard. Kev kind of dives over the top of it. It's one of those ones where he probably saves it last season. Do you know, when he's running in that great run of form, he probably gets his hand in it and tips it wide. He dives over the top of it. I'm not going to be too critical with it. It's a decent penalty, you know, it's got low and towards the corner, so yeah, just the best possible start for us, really.
I think, as you say, if he palms that out, I think that just changes everything for him. I think his confidence would pick up so much if he gets a moment like that. But that's just where we're at the moment. Alan, do you think that summed up our luck, that where we were at? And just your thoughts, did you think it was a penalty, or were you uncertain?
I mean, at the time, like half the South Stand, I'm going absolutely mental. You know, it looks, for where we are, that he clearly got his two hands on it. Looking at it back on the replay, obviously the camera's kind of got the same angle as the ref. It looks like the ball goes forward from the striker's perspective, so I can see how the ref doesn't think that Kev's got anything on it. And if he doesn't think that Kev's got anything on it, it's a blatant penalty. You know what I mean? From his angle, it probably looks like he's wiped him out. I do think Kev got it. It's one of those things. The linesman's on the wrong side as well, so he probably can't see it. If there's VAR, maybe it gets overturned. I don't think any of us are going to sit here and say we want VAR in the Championship. So, you know, it's one of those, it's really shit, but you kind of have to accept it. And I kind of take Ian's point as well, that you're thinking, if your keeper's going the right way and he's getting to the angle of the ball, you're hoping he gets down quick enough to get it. You know, it's a long way for him to get down, but he's shown in the past that he has got really good reflexes, and he gets down well. I think it's just confidence with him just now, isn't it? You know, and like you say, Robbie, if he'd got a hand on that and, you know, put it around for a corner or something like that, the lift that the whole place would have got, you know, the whole team would have got a lift from it, Kev would have got a lift from it, and I'd say it could have been a different game, but as we're about to discuss, apart from the last 10 minutes, it was a pretty damn good game anyway. So
yeah. And Callum, I know that we obviously, Alan's mentioned there that we know that it is a good game coming up, but sort of just when you see that go in, what are your thoughts at that point? Were you worried about the start that we'd made and the road back? How did you feel?
Oh fuck! Here we go again. It's just great. This is just the perfect start. It's like I chose the right time to not be able to drink for the game, because it was one of those where it's like you just see the penalty be given for what was not a penalty, because from what I saw from behind the goal and from watching the highlights back again, what happens is Kev gets to the ball first, but he punches it off of the striker and then it goes out. If Kev punches that to the touchline, that's not given. Like you both said, it's like thinking about it from the referee's perspective, it does, because of the way the ball's gone, it probably does look like Kev has just wiped him out. Again, you could see about the linesman, obviously it's like they're going down the line, and it's a case of, it's like, could he have possibly seen that Kev got to the ball first? It's like, do linesmen have the ability to tell the referee, no, that's not a penalty? It just throws that up into the air. And then with Kev, I'm wondering, it's like watching back, it's like he has dived the right way, but it's like it's right in the corner, but Kev's got his arm like a little bit in. So I'm not sure if maybe when doing research on it, I know we talked about this with the Anton Downs penalty before, but maybe it's like, right, he goes towards that corner, but it's usually like closer to the middle. And he's obvious, if it is like that, then perfect. Kev's got that every day of the week, but no, it's right in the bottom corner. But then it's like obviously seeing that go in, it's sort of like, oh god, this is going to be a long one again. But it wasn't, and then it was.
One thing I would say about the penalty, sorry, Robbie, the referee gives it instantly. Like the ball's still almost in motion, and the referee's pointing at the spot. I think if the referee possibly gives himself 10 seconds, maybe 5 seconds to think about it, it possibly doesn't get given, but it's obviously the way he's seen it. He gives the penalty absolutely straight away, so in his mind, he must be absolutely certain that was a penalty, because there's no consultation with the linesman, nothing. You know what I mean? He literally gives it whilst the ball's almost still in play.
There could be an argument, though, about, what's it called, endangering an opponent. I mean, he has just clattered him, frankly. So
yeah, it's not a bad point.
I mean, I think the one thing from it as well is, you know, if they'd scored a first-minute goal from just some really piss-poor defending, which, you know, in fairness, probably is from Liam Dick. But I think the sense of injustice in the Rovers crowd from that penalty decision is probably the only thing that stopped the stadium turning really toxic really early on, and kind of kept the fans behind the team, because we were all. It's that kind of whole, when you feel like you've been hard done by, you tend to get fired right up for it. Didn't result in any songs or anything, because God forbid, but it was at least there wasn't booing at that stage, which I think there easily could have been if it had been a normal goal.
Well, if there's one group of people that were certainly galvanised by it, it was the Rovers' response on the pitch, because they went out all guns blazing. So, Alan, if you can just talk us through on the 15th minute mark, there's a bit of a sort of coming together at the edge of the box. So Lewis Vaughan goes down, and I think everyone's naturally concerned at that moment. But yeah, moments after that, the ball gets knocked down from Jack Hamilton, right into the path of Lewis Stevenson. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, my first thought was, oh, God, what's happened to Lewis? Like, I was just, the way he went down and he went down slow and he just didn't move, I was like, shit, he's done. Like, this is really bad. And then I think I turned around to Kev Bretto and just said, oh, man, that doesn't look good. And as I'm looking back, I just see the ball absolutely flying into the top corner. I was like, what? And yeah, it was so. It was one of those. I could tell it had been a really good hit, and the way everyone was reacting around me, I could tell it was a great hit. But quite frankly, I didn't see who'd hit it. I missed that because I was so worried about Lewis Vaughan. I've now obviously watched it back on the highlights, and what a hit! I mean, you just can't. You can't hit a ball any sweeter than that. The way it kind of curls around, like, no keeper in the world is getting anywhere near that. It was just an absolutely beautiful strike of the ball, and absolutely no more than we deserved at that point in the game.
Yeah, and I would say as well, it was our first goal from open play that was scored in the league this season. What a way to do it! So yeah, Ian. Naturally, we sit quite close to each other in the stands, so we can chat a bit during the game. Just your sort of how bittersweet was that moment, knowing that obviously Lewis Vaughan's in a bit of trouble there with the injury, and just your thoughts on the goal itself.
Yeah, I barely celebrated the goal, I'll be totally honest with you. I had my heart in my mouth for Lewis. I mean, the way he went down, it was kind of like he went down in the instalments. Now I've watched it back, he definitely grabs his hamstring. Like that's the first initial thing that he grabs. But at the time, I never saw that. I just seen him crumpling down in a heap and thought, "Oh Jesus, man! Like this can't be happening again." But fair play to Lewis, man. Like Lewis Stevenson, what a hit it is! It's an absolute Roberto Carlos special. Like the angle that the angle that the camera is at gives a perfect view. It's like from outside to in. Kind of like on the far post, and then also the most aesthetically pleasing thing about the goal, the way it rolls round the top of the net. It's just that totally caps it off, man. What a goal, beauty!
I'm sure he's probably scored more than a few of those on the Blaze pitch back in the day across the railway lines.
He actually scored a pretty similar one in Lewis Vaughan's testimonial. It was at the South Stand then. It wasn't maybe quite as high up in the net, but it was the same sort of thing. The ball kind of like made its way through to the box. He hits that across the goal and into the bottom corner. I remember that night thinking, wish we could just sign him. I really just wish we could get him. Here he is.
And I'd be remiss of me not to give credit to the man that always claims credit for these things. I don't know if you follow him on social media, but Mark Braid, who continually, knowing Lewis when he was younger and used to play football with him, says, I taught him that straight away. So no end of joy from Mr. Braid there, which is great. I just want to ask Callum, just for you, Jack Hamilton played a major part in the goal with a knockdown. Do you think he was really showing a sort of value there and sort of the link-up play that he can offer as a centre-forward for us, and that we've maybe not had that in the last few games? What were your thoughts about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Jack Hamilton was excellent. It's like the way he just got on like 90% of balls that were heading towards him, pretty much. Anything that was in the air and there was a defender nearby, it's like he showed no fear. He would just go through the defender to get to it. On Stevenson's goal, I think he might have listened to me going on about Barclays men when I was complaining about Sean Byrne not hitting a ball from 25 yards. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I want to see more of that. I do love how it's like
Yeah,
every time Stevenson got the ball from about that range for like the rest of the game, there were people just saying shoot. You could just hear it.
Yeah, it's you're always going to get that, much like Scott Brown at the end of last season. Anytime he was lumbering up towards the edge of the box, threatening to shoot. So Lewis Vaughan goes off, and Finley Pollock comes on to make his debut. Linked up really well with Dylan Easton. Callum, if you can just talk us through that second goal, just your thoughts and how well that was taken and sort of the build-up play, because it was a really nice pass as well from Dylan Easton.
Oh, it was so nice. It was so nice to watch. It was like the pass through was brilliant. It was perfectly weighted right into the path of Pollock running, and then to take it round the keeper. I can't remember the last time I'd seen that happen at Starks Park, where someone goes round the keeper, because normally they just hit it. They don't often think about taking it round. So it was a really, really nice goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Iain, I'm just going to come to you quickly. Pollock straight away runs over to the Accies fans behind the goal. Did you think that was a nice touch, given they're clearly on the wind-up with there? And they are definitely on the wind-up, and I don't want to see people get upset about it, because I do think it's quite funny. Their very unironic flag of Scotland's biggest club, and the lads behind it just going mental. Just a wee word for them.
Aye, good lads, quite right, man. It's like, like they got a lot of pelters for their size of club and their size of their travelling support. But listen, that's not the fault of the guys that are going to the games, and like 100%. I'd be hamming it up the exact same, man. It'd be really, really easy for these guys to support Rangers or Celtic or even kind of the bigger clubs in that area, like Motherwell or that. It'd be much easier for them to just support teams like that. So fair play to them. I've not got a problem with it. I do enjoy Pollock's celebration. It really endears him to our support from literally like almost the first minute of coming on. Do you know what I mean? Just a word on him whilst we're talking about him, because we might as well. Super impressed. Really, really, really impressed. Not going to pretend that I knew anything or much or anything about him before he comes in. Spoken to a Hearts friend who said he was pretty direct, but he'd had a terrible time with injuries. My response was like, well, I'm sure he'll fit right in, you know, like, his squad full of them. But really quick, I think over the first kind of 5-10 yards, he's got that real turn of pace. Seen him burning Regan Tumulty a couple of times. That's no mean feat. Regan's a very, very fast player as well, so it probably shows you just how quick off the mark he is. I thought his final ball was good on the whole. Put a couple in the stand, put a couple across the 6-yard box. Happy to take that hit rate, to be honest with you. A really strong runner, really direct. And I think that final point, the directness, is something that the squad is probably slightly lacking in. And I think that's what we'll see the most benefit from.
I think that was, it's really evident in the way that he just looked to sort of get the ball head up and just drive in. And yeah, I was very, very impressed, much like yourself. I wasn't particularly blown away because, again, I didn't know too much about him when he signed. But yeah, if that's the standard that he's bringing in, and the great bit is that a lot of people will probably ask about, like, right, Naismith's gone, are they going to try and recall him? They can't recall him until January because of the way that the transfer windows work. So, aye, cheers for that, lads. Thanks for dishing him out, and when you're in desperate need of a creative player. So yeah, Rovers just towards the end of the first half, now in their lead. Allan, Rovers just continued in the ascendancy. So just were you quite impressed how well Rovers had acquitted themselves to the game at that point and sort of moving forward, how they were looking?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought, I know that there's a kind of school of thought with some fans that, you know, Dylan Easton's not as effective in the middle as he is out wide. I don't necessarily agree with that, and I know Airdrie fans always said they thought he was better through the middle.
Yeah.
I think it depends on who's outside of him. If he's got someone like Pollock who's going to run and overlap and, you know, will kind of maybe cut inside and let Easton then kind of run outside of him, and then also you know, Stevenson really willing to get forward. I thought the three of them looked kind of really good together. The defenders didn't know what way the ball was going, who was going to suddenly decide to kind of take a step and run into the box. So they were kind of just guessing the whole time, and I thought, so Pollock being there, I thought brought the best out in Easton. I thought Easton had a really good game actually for most of it. Got a bit tired like a lot of the players did, but you know it just I think we could easily have got another couple before half time even, and I don't think it would have flattered us at all. I mean, there was one kind of obvious point where, you know, the ball came into Hamilton and he just didn't manage to control it.
Yeah.
You know, that's a guy who he's not match fit. He's not played an awful lot of football recently. I think a fully fit, match fit Jack Hamilton takes that on his knee or on his thigh, and then slots it in the bottom corner. He showed that, funnily enough, against Hamilton last year in the Challenge Cup game. He scored one absolute beauty, but then the other one was a lovely little touch and kind of jink in the box with a wee finish. So he's got that in his game, and I think if we can get him fit and playing a lot of football, I genuinely think he'll score goals for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got the guys there who, on form, will create chances. And Pollock, as I say, looks like someone who's definitely going to do that. As Iain said, he's direct. He's got one thing in his mind, and that's get myself or the ball into the box and into a dangerous position. And he was given. Tumulty ended up going off because he couldn't handle him.
Yeah,
he was just getting turned inside out, and I thought we looked really good, and I think like everyone else, I was feeling really positive at half time.
Yeah, I think Tumulty, it's interesting that his stock's now completely been eviscerated and gone to shreds now, just in the way that sort of a lot of people have been. He's the type of player that it feels like people always clamour to bring back, but he's
Hartley effect.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Really liked him in his time during here. Seems like a really great character, but at the same time, just not at the standard that I think that we need. And a lot of people were sort of clamouring for that over the last wee while to bring him back in. The second half starts, and Iain, I just want to come back to this because you made a point earlier on about the referee with the penalty, where he was very quick to sort of reach his judgment, and this was a very similar instance. So it was quite a fiery start to the second half because Kevin O'Hara brought down Ross Matthews, and the ball rolls off, and Kieran Freeman goes after it. Scott Martin goes down to the ground, and then he kicks out at Kieran Freeman. Now, the referee didn't really spot it. He sort of caught it maybe out the corner of his eye, Lloyd Wilson. The linos, I'm not sure whether the linos linked up and talking to him. Do you think it should have been a red card, that? Because he does kick out at him.
It's a difficult one because Freeman pushes him over. It's as simple as that. Like, at the time, I was certain it was a red card. Certain it was a red card because I hadn't seen Freeman. Like, I don't know. There's maybe been something that's happened slightly before it, and he's maybe said something, and that's why he's maybe wanted to leave one on him. But he absolutely takes opportunity to kind of almost forearm smash him in the back, and that's what sends Scott Martin over. He does have a kick at him. I'm not convinced it's a red card. What was the end result of that? Was there bookings or did anything happen?
Yeah, Scott Martin got a yellow card.
He did, you're right.
That, as I say, the thing was that the referee never really spotted it, but he just came over and gave him a yellow card.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
Instant and get rid of it. It felt like it was just kind of passing the buck.
It's a strange one because, if the referee sees it and he's only noticed that Martin has kicked him, it's probably a red card. Do you know what I mean? The only reason that I'm saying it's not a red card is that there's a coming together slightly before it, and there's a bit of one and a bit of the other. But if Kieran Freeman's got away scot-free and he's only booked Scott Martin, you'd think that if he's seen the kick, that would indicate it would be a red card. But that's obviously not how it played out.
Well, I suppose that again, the referee can only work off what he's seen, and again, he's relying on the linesman. I think you need the linesman to be if it is going to be a red card, I think you need the linesman to be a lot more certain and a lot bigger character there. Yeah. But then again, we don't know the ins and outs of the full situation. But Callum, just to come back to you now, just we go 3-1 ahead, just quite short after that, into the second half. Jack Hamilton plays a really, really nice pass out wide to Aidan Connolly. The cross gets fumbled by Dean Linus. It sort of almost looks like it's touched the bar. Linus fumbles it, and then it falls right to the feet of a grateful Dylan Easton, who slots home into an empty net. Did you think it was just cruise control at that point, and that Rovers had just that we would push on? And just your thoughts on the goal itself?
Yeah, the goal itself was a really good counter attack. Just the way we got up the pitch so quickly, and then. With Connolly crossing it, I don't think he meant that. Let's put it that way, because that wrong-footed the goalkeeper. It's like that was going in. By the way, it was going to go just under the bar, I think. So obviously the goalkeepers had to pedal back just to try and get it away. But you obviously want to, as a goalkeeper, you want to get it over the bar to safety and not back into the 6-yard box where there is probably going to be a Rovers player to just lash it into the back of the net. And it was at that point where I went into two minds. My hopeful mind, where it's like, this is piss easy. We are all over them. We could be up by like 4 or 5 at this point. And then there was a second part where it's like, this is Raith Rovers. We're 2 goals up.
Yeah.
I mean, we looked for the best part coming on into the later stages of the second half. We were only grown. Iain, Dylan Easton has a chance. He breaks through sort of almost one-on-one, and the ball just goes wide. Is that frustrating when you see that just given? I think you said the same thing to your brother at the same time I said into the group chat, which was, we need a 4th goal just to absolutely kill it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can't stand this being 2 goals up. It's such a fucking stupid thing to say. It's pathetic. It's absolutely infuriating. I think 2 things happen at 3-1. And if either of those things go our way, we comfortably win the game. But they both went against us, and we didn't. So the 2 things were, Dylan Easton goes through and shoots. And for me, if he shoots there, he has to score because Aidan Connolly is standing screaming on that ball at the back post. I watched the highlights. He goes absolutely daft at him when he doesn't get the ball and it doesn't go in. The other one, we have a goal disallowed. Some frank exchanges of words in our group chat this morning. I was absolutely adamant that's onside. I've seen the photo and I take on board what people are saying. But it's fucking onside. Like, I don't know what anybody's seeing. Like, there's some chat about the line on the pitch and it's because Smith's leaning forward and the feet are look the same. For me, it looks a yard onside. If you're saying that's off, if you're saying that is offside, I believe you're incorrect. I'm sorry, but if either of those things go our way, I think we win the game pretty comfortably. They both go against us, and you know how it ends up.
Yeah, Alan, I just want to get your take on the offside goal. That was my sort of next point coming up chronologically in the game. Dylan Easton's cross comes in. I don't know how much Callum Smith knew about it. Cannons off his head and goes in. It looks like it's kind of just reached him so quickly that he didn't really have time to react. But yeah, just what did you make of that? And did you think it was offside when you saw it? And what are your views after seeing some highlights?
Live in the stadium, there wasn't really many folk complaining. There was a kind of half-hearted celebration, and then saw the flag going up, and was like, yeah. Everyone, it looked really offside in the stadium because the defender's coming out, Smith's going forward at the same time. It looked really offside. And then I think I didn't watch the highlights until this morning, but I think someone put on the group chat last night, actually, when the highlights first came out, just saying that's onside. And looking at the photo, I completely agree with Iain. It's, I'm actually looking at the line and seeing where, the defender's maybe, a foot one side of the line and Smith's a foot the other side of the line in an onside position. Yes, he's leaning, and I know you have all these weird things with it, you see offside, VAR offside stuff now, and it gets absolutely mental, and someone could be offside by like the length of their nose or some crap like that. But ultimately, I believe, again, I'm coming back to this, we don't want VAR in this division. We have to which means we'll have to put up with this shit. But it was onside. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's many linesmen in the country who would have not put their flag up because it looked so offside. So it's frustrating. You just, I don't believe this whole evens itself out crap, quite frankly. It certainly doesn't feel like it just now. And I agree with Iain. I think if that goes in, or if Easton's shot is, 6 inches to the left and nestles in the bottom corner, I mean, it must have actually shaved the post. And part of me thinks, why do you not pass to Connolly? But then another part of me thinks, I don't, in that position, I want Easton shooting because he's one of the best finishers in the club. And, more often than not, he will put that in the bottom corner. And watching the replay, I don't actually think Connolly was in a particularly better position than him. He just didn't have anyone near him. And the other side of it is, I suppose, if the keeper's expecting Easton to shoot, he's not really necessarily ready for it going over to Connolly. So those are the kind of other side of it. But a guy like Easton, in sort of penalty spot area, with just the keeper to beat, you kind of want him being confident enough to take a shot.
Yeah.
But just even at that point, you're just thinking, right, the next goal's coming soon. We're absolutely cruising this. But at the back of your mind, there's that whole, as Callum said, it's Rovers.
Well, Callum, we'll come back to you now. Connor Smith, Callum's brother, gets the luck that Callum didn't get. A ball sort of comes into the box, bounces about, deflected and in. How infuriated were you by that, just given how dominant we'd been in the game?
Oh God, it was just a bizarre goal to see. I didn't even. It wasn't until watching the highlights that I actually knew what happened. Because I'm looking, it's like watching it. I'm just like, how is that gone in? Because it looked like so weak, and it just sort of fell into the net. But then watching it back, Smith hits it, and it's going pretty close to Kev, but it hits off of Stevenson's hand as he's sliding in, and that's what throws it off against the post. And I'd seen someone say it comes off of Kev and then goes in. No, the ball was over the line when it comes off of Kev. So there's nothing he could have done about that. And I hate that. How many times have I had to see that this season where it's just like, there is nothing Kev could have done about that for all his ability. Yeah. It's like, the flukiness of some of the goals that we've conceded is ridiculous. And like you were saying about things evening out over a season, we must be going on a 30-match unbeaten run after this, starting with like a 6-0 win against Falkirk with about 4 penalties. It's absolutely ridiculous.
One thing I would say about their second goal is that I think if it doesn't go in the net, it's a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Stevenson's arm, it's Louis Stevenson, isn't it? His hands are way up above his head when the ball makes the connection. Like he's literally like, his hands are up above his head, and it does definitely strike his arm. And I think if it doesn't go in the net, I think the referee probably gives a penalty. So frustrating the way that it's like a miss kick that comes off the post that then gets fumbled in the net. Do you know what I mean? It looks so like, it just looks so messy. And I get what you're saying about not really knowing what had happened until I watched the highlights again, but it's just the sort of goal we're conceding at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we're getting the Rovers sort of go backs against the wall to a degree, but what I would say is I would agree with Neil Collins in that there was also an element where we were still going out and we were still making sort of forays. It wasn't sort of like a camped in to try and get the win until maybe the final sort of maybe 85th, 86th minute onwards. And then unfortunately, ball gets crossed into the box. Big Kev makes a really good save. Alan, do you think he could maybe do better and hold on to the ball? Because I've seen a few people being critical of him. Or do you think he did the right thing, trying to just sort of palm it away and it goes out for a corner? Do you think
the thing is, you try and keep hold of it and you maybe drop it at somebody's foot. Also, the other part is, and I know for a fact I'm probably stealing Ian's thunder here, is he maybe has a better chance to hold on to it if that big idiot doesn't clatter right into him. You know what I mean? You get people complaining about goalkeepers getting far too much protection. There's an example of where a keeper should get protection. Now, there's a case to be made for the guy who's got a right to go for it, but what's he going to do with it? Nothing. He's there to try and put the goalie off, and he puts the goalie off by basically barging into him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a booking or anything more than a foul, but I do think it's a foul. I mean, I think some Hamilton fans thought it was a bloody foul, but Kev, he's not a bit man. But yeah, it's just I don't think Kev does anything wrong there. He gets it well clear. You don't want him leaving the ball in play there, especially if he's then taking a hit, and he's on the he did get up pretty quickly afterwards. But he puts it out for a corner, which gives your team a chance to kind of reset and hopefully get rid of it, which well, didn't necessarily happen. But
see, I think as the ball's coming in, it's like really close to one of the Hamilton strikers, so I think Kev was preparing himself for it coming off the striker. It wasn't far off, and so he's obviously had to react, and it's like, at that point, you're just like, get it to fuck. And he did do the right thing.
And then the words "get to fuck" probably came out quite a lot of mouths in the 91st minute straight away after. Just Iain, just talk us through.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it? It's just absolutely crazy. I lost, fully admit, I lost the heat at the third goal. Like, I was ranting and raving like a madman and almost pacing about the row that we were in. It's just absolutely crazy. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of watching it.
You knew it was coming, didn't you? You just knew they were scoring for that corner.
Yeah.
Totally, like I said in the group chat earlier, I said, see when it went 3-2, if you'd asked 1,000 people in that South Stand, are we going to win this game? You'd get an almost universal no. It's like, we are like, I'm almost lost for words as to describe why does it keep happening? What is it? And I think we would be remiss to not go into a wider discussion here as to why does this keep happening? Because it's transcended time, owners, managers, players. We've had new supporters come since the last fucking time it started. Like, I'm at a loss as to why it keeps happening, and I'm at my emotional limit for watching how many times it's happened. It's like, I don't know what the next step is. I'm going to end up fucking lamping somebody or something next time it happens in the stand, because I have nothing left. It's so difficult to watch, and we need to stop it. There's, you know what I mean? It's crucifying us. The number of times we get ourselves into a position where we just need to win. Ultimately, see last season, there's probably that's probably a big reason why we actually never won the league, is our inability to just hold on to those leads. We've discussed it at length, so I'll not go through them like the games again, but it's happening again this season, and we need to wrap it.
Yeah. I'm going to just go to a point that Duncan made in the group chat where he said, I think that if you took out those goals out a full replay highlights package of the game, and you took out every single opportunity that led to a goal, and then you showed someone the game and says, which teams, there's 6 goals in this game, and you allocate them out, who are they going to go to?
Yeah.
You'd be thinking it's going to be 3, 4... You'd probably be going 4 or 5 to Rovers, I would say.
Easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's summed up by the fact that John Rankin came out in his post-match pressing and said, we didn't deserve a draw there. But that's the way it is against Raith Rovers right now, unfortunately. So yeah, to come on to the mentality side, Scott generously sort of put in, I'm going to read it word for word, because I think that's the best way to do justice for it. Because I wouldn't want to misquote him.
Like you and Cam.
Put it in... very true. Scott gets enough of that out of this podcast, so if you just give me 2 seconds, I'm going to go off and find it. He says, so we were talking about sort of like things to discuss on this, which it's not really going to be a hard episode to do given the sort of scoreline, but he says maybe touch a wee bit on the squad's weak mentality at the moment as well. Quite rightly, we've got to question it now, as we've given away far too many leads. Have to have more belief in ourselves and how we play. So I'm going to go around each person here. Start with yourself, Alan. Do you think that that's a sort of fair statement to make, to label a sort of weak mentality, or do you think that there was difference there yesterday compared to maybe what was shown before? What are your thoughts on sort of that statement in general and where we're at?
I could see why people would say it as that. To me, it's much, much more to do with confidence. We've had a really shitty start to the season. You almost feel the players must be thinking, "Oh Christ, here we go again," and that's maybe where the mental issue comes with. Well, they've then got to say, right, we need to do something about it, and it maybe comes down to not having. I was going to say not having the leaders in the park, but we should have. You've got Ross Matthews on there, who's the kind of club captain, although Scott Brown's the team captain. You've got Paul Hanlon and Lewis Stevenson there, who are really experienced guys. Liam Dix played a lot of football. There's guys in there who
even someone like Dylan Easton who can galvanise a team.
I mean, what I would say is, if Scott Brown's on the pitch, maybe it doesn't happen. But then he was on the pitch when it happened sometimes last season. I think actually the guy who probably makes the biggest difference that's missing just now is someone like Callum Fordyce's been in there. You know, just a really big, no nonsense, experienced centre half. He's been a captain. He's been an assistant manager. I think he goes in there and gets, grabs folk with the scruff of the neck and drags them through it. Does it make any difference? I don't know. I'm not. I don't, it's a hard one. I'm probably sitting on the fence a wee bit here. I don't like to say that they're mentally weak because I don't think it's necessarily true. I just think they're just so low in confidence. And see the boost we would have got for holding on for that win yesterday.
Yeah.
If Paul Hanlon comes out and gets a good header on that corner and it goes halfway up the pitch, it was soft, like the ref blew the whistle pretty much as soon as we took the kick-off, so it was the last touch of the ball, so if we get a clearing header there, the whistle goes, we get the 3 points. And forgetting the kind of dodgy second goal, you're then coming out of that thinking, we've created loads of chances, we've got 3 points, they get a massive lift for that. And I'm really, really worried that throwing away that is going to actually make the confidence even worse ahead of next week. Neil Collins has got a huge, huge job in his hands this week.
Iain, just what would be your thoughts on the situation at the moment and just where we're at?
Yeah, it's difficult not to lean towards the players having a weak mentality at this point. I think it's a fair thing to level at the players, which is quite a damning indictment based on the squad of players that we've got, because they shouldn't have a weak mentality. We've got tried and tested winners throughout that squad. Do you know what I mean? Guys who need to stand up and be counted and get us through those moments, because we desperately need it. Paul Hanlon and Lewis Stevenson have got about 1,000 top flight games, Scotland caps. Sean Byrne can. One thing I would probably say is the substitutions didn't help. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they didn't help at all. Jack Hamilton was running a bit like a man possessed.
You could really tell that towards the end of the time that Hamilton was on the pitch, because he just looked.
We've got such a small squad in terms of height. So when Hamilton goes off and Smith comes on, you also lose something in the attacking penalty box. But as we're holding on there, you lose that defensive, capability for Jack Hamilton to get his head on the ball. He's probably our best header of the ball.
Because there was one actually in the first half as well where Hamilton was back for a corner and he was the one that cleared it out. But yeah, that's. I would agree with that. I think there does need to be a bit of a bulking up in terms of any new recruits that we do bring in. That you would hope that they would be there. Callum,
sorry, can I just just to kind of touch on your point there with Hamilton going off as well. Something that just to kind of occurred to me is Hamilton kind of stays quite high up the pitch, and it forces the defenders to stay further back. When he goes off and you've got Jameson and Smith coming on, they probably drop back a wee bit more, which lets their defence come out a little bit more, lets their whole team push up, and probably puts us in the back foot a wee bit. And Hamilton had to come off when he came off. He was done.
It was bossed.
100%.
It would have been really nice to have a similar player to bring on, but
that's where we're at is with the team at the moment. And Callum, just again on the mentality question, sort of, what are your sort of thoughts on that?
I don't know, because the point that's been made before is the fact that there was only 3 players in the squad from the time where we drew 4-4 against Accies, which I was also unfortunately at. So it does bring into question. It's like there have been, with some of them, it's like there have been caveats. So it's like with the Arbroath one last season, when we were 2-0 up and lost 3-2 up at Gayfield, you could probably put it down to the fact it's like, I think it was noticeable that the weather just got just worse. Just so much worse throughout that game, and that threw off Kev, who at the time didn't have the experience of being a first team goalkeeper that he does now. And I think with this one, it is fitness, because with what was it? It was the Ayr game where we were 2-0 up in the cup. We were on top for the first half. and then we seemed to run out of steam by about the hour mark. Whereas this time, you sort of started to feel that at about the 80-minute mark. So,
we're going in the right direction, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're going in the right direction. Obviously, it's like, hopefully this
112 minute
112
equaliser for folk next week, guys.
That's what's going to happen. But yeah, it's like I do think it is a fitness issue, and it's like because of the fitness issues we do have at the club right now, we can't bring on the appropriate players off of the bench. Like, we don't have clones of Hamilton to bring on. We are missing Fordyce. We are missing Scott Brown. And it's like those two are leaders as well as being good players. So I feel like that's going to be the reason for this one. But it is something that, for the love of God, just cut it out. I cannot be fucking arsed.
Yeah. We had a very passionate, as you'd expect, discussion after the game in our group chat, where sort of a lot of sort of discussion about like where we're at as a club, what's happening, have we made the right decision in terms of changing the manager from Ian Murray, sort of these late goals that we keep conceding and these performances and what we're doing, and just where we're, because again there was sort of discussions about like, if we keep this up, are we on the route to League One? See, for me, that performance yesterday is not a team that was on the route to League One. And I think that was sort of great. Graham summed it up quite nicely when he was sort of answering. He obviously can't be on tonight, but I think that his point was that, like, if you're asking about mental weakness, then you've also got to factor in, give them a bit of credit as well. So they came back, they were 1-0 down from a first minute penalty, and we were 3-1 up. Like, sure, there's the end of the game. The end of the game's the end of the game, and nobody's going to say that that was acceptable and that we should have seen it out, I think, is the main points. But also as well, for me, the way that I'm looking at it right now is that last season we got told time and time again, your good luck's not going to last. You're not going to keep scoring 90-minute goals. And it didn't, because that's the way that football works. But at the same time, we're also getting the reverse of that situation now, where you look, Dunfermline, red card, straight off the off again. Sean Byrne gets sent off and they get a penalty, which could have been a foul on Sean Byrne. Livingston, that last minute goal. We've had so many injuries. I just feel like there's so many sort of extrapolating factors as such, where we look at players to come back, like Scott Brown, you have Lewis Vaughan obviously in and out of the team. You're only just getting Kieran Freeman and Jack Hamilton back now, and I thought that we saw the benefits of them massively yesterday. I thought the two of them were absolutely superb, but I'll come back to them in a wee bit. And then I feel like games like yesterday, if you have someone like, rather than Liam Dick, because it's not for a lack of effort, it's just really unfortunate, but I feel like if you've got Iain Murray in there or you've got Callum Fordyce in there, then that doesn't happen. Just the experience just sees you through. And I feel like before long, rather than it being we're going to go down into the shitter, I feel like that games like yesterday give me a lot of confidence that we can go on and at some point kick on. And I'm not necessarily going to say next week, because I know that Falkirk's going to be a really tough game, and they're going to be riding high on a wave of confidence. But we've seen it before where we've had teams come to Stark's with unbeaten records. You look at Dundee with their Defiant season, which was dope to the roof of in terms of high earners like Lee Griffiths and Gary Harkins. But yeah, they came there and we still ended that one. For me, I just feel like we've had a horrific start to the season. I feel like we're going in the right direction, I think, is the main point that I would make. And I feel like we've still got a bit of budget to play with in terms of players to come in, that there are sort of situations that we can look to improve on. And yeah, I just feel like there was a lot of signs of growth out of that performance, and a lot of reason that the players should take a lot of confidence from it. But time will tell. And I think
he's right in what you're saying about, like, you know, we've got key players missing. I don't know how much I buy into, like, if Iain Murray's playing, if Callum Fordyce is playing, if Scott Brown's playing, then that doesn't happen. We've got leaders on the park already. What's your tipping point for how many leaders you need on the park for that not to happen?
But I don't think it's a question of leadership. I just feel like it's a point where it's like, if you get a natural centre half in there, that you can cut out a lot of the nonsense. Like, it's just...
I get that. I just think the players need to stand up and be counted in that situation.
Oh, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
there's enough guys on that park to get a hold of the guys who maybe haven't been in that position for us and say, this is not happening. Do you know what I mean? This is not going to happen. So I don't know how much I buy that if we just had X, Y, or Z back in the squad, then it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But I agree with your wider point that there are a lot of positives to take from yesterday. But let's not get away from the fact that the overriding feeling from yesterday from almost everyone is negativity from it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think everyone's
taking the positives is because I feel like you have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, football's supposed to be your escape from the everyday kind of hassles of life. So you know, there's no point in dwelling on the negatives because there are plenty there still. But you know, ultimately,
honestly,
before yesterday, we were not creating chances at all. I mean, we probably created. You could probably count on one hand the amount of chances we created from open play in the league before yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yesterday we could have probably scored 5 or 6 goals, and it wouldn't have mattered us. So that's the kind of main positive for me. There is still plenty of negative, but
yeah, I wouldn't deny that, and I wouldn't sort of say it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I just can't see it. I just can't see it. Like, I think that there's got to be a breaking point at some point in terms of like us moving towards an upward trajectory, because I just can't see it being the case that we go down any sort of lower, that they keep coming up.
Too much quality in that squad.
Again, and look, you just see some of this stuff in the league, and you just think, look, we played a lot of good teams at the start as well, and that definitely didn't help us as to where we're at. But yeah, I'm sure that Scott will be on and others to be providing their retorts at some point. And look, I think that's a good thing about having it as well. I think it's positive to have these sort of discussions, because it's good to hear different perspectives on things. It's not just one sort of universal sort of feeling about it. I'm by far more positive than other people, I would say, and I'm fully willing to acknowledge that as well. So
I generally am. You know, I generally am a really positive.
But I get why people are scunnered. I get why people are scunnered
as well. Right word.
Aye. I did not come out of that game thinking, oh yes, brilliant, we started creating chances. I was like, for fuck's sake, I cannot believe it's happened again. I don't think anyone would be.
You're sitting there thinking, oh, you're not coming out there going, excellent, we've got a point, we're off the bottom of the league. Who gives a shit?
No.
I was thinking about
taking 2 or 3
fishing.
places higher.
Just give up football. I've got fishing rods in the shed.
Well, we'll round off the episode. I want to sort of check just in terms of the man of the match for people. So, Callum, who was your man of the match out of yesterday?
Oh, it's a difficult choice, isn't it? Because it's like we played really well, but I would give it to Easton. I thought he played really, really well, just getting the ball up the park quickly. He was beating his man. He just played really well. He had that excitement about him again.
Yeah, it was a huge performance from him compared to what we saw in the derby.
It's like if he scored the one
Easton,
that could have made it 4-1, then no doubt man of the match.
Yeah, 100%. Iain, who for you?
Thought Big Jack was tremendous. Thought that was the Jack Hamilton that we all thought we were getting, and we all thought we were going to see. We need to see more of it. I think he's probably been playing with a niggle for basically the entire time he's been playing for us. I really hope that that's him, clear of that, and we can see more performances like yesterday, because I thought he was superb. Got us up the park, used his attributes tremendously well. You see what he brings for the Stevenson goal. He gets in front of his defender and chests that down perfectly. Great performance, but we need to see more of it.
Yeah, I think that brilliant assist for the Stevenson goal, and just the knockdown for it was absolutely perfect, right into his path and set him up beautifully. But overall, just really, really good contribution, especially that pass out wide to Connolly for the third goal, was it? So,
for sure.
And then Alan, for yourself, who was your man of the match?
I'd agree. I thought Jack Hamilton was brilliant. I thought, honourable mention for Kieran Freeman for coming in. I don't know how much attention he pays to social media and things like that, but he was being completely written off. People were thinking he was going to do a disappearing act like Ross Millen, and we were never going to see him again. And there was probably a few people who were a bit, oh god, we're playing him today. Most of us were all probably like, a right back, yay! But there'll be some people who are going, "Oh," and I thought he did really well. He linked up well with Connolly, got forward. He was always kind of looking to get forward when he could. But I'd for man of the match, I'd agree with Callum. I'd go with Easton. He wasn't quite there, but he was looking back to his old self. I mean, his pass through to Pollock for his goal was absolutely beautiful. Lovely, perfect weight on it, perfect angle. Pollock just has to take a touch to get around the keeper, and that excuse for a defender who was falling over at the same time. And he's he did really well to get through for the chance that he missed. As much, yes, the goal he scored, he was about 3 yards out, but he finished it really well. It'd be very easy to kind of scarf that there, mainly thinking, what the hell's this keeper doing? But he took it really well. And there was another wee point actually where I remember turning to Kevin saying, "This looks like the Easton that we want to see." He did this wee kind of turn and kind of flick in the box, and it didn't quite come off. But it's the kind of things that you want to see him do, because he'll maybe mess up 2 or 3, but then he'll get one right and he'll skin a couple of guys and bang it in the top corner or something. So you want him doing that, and he looked like he was getting there. So I thought his all round play was really good, and I did give it to Easton.
Absolutely. For me, there were a few honourable mentions. I felt unsung hero to a degree. I felt Sean Byrne, particularly the spells during the second half, I thought he was absolutely class. Just that Sean Byrne touch of nuanced touch, I would say, just a few times to sort of take the ball away from players and just to rock it through. To see someone on Twitter calling him out to get released. Seriously, get a fucking grip of yourself. Like, to say that about him and Josh Mullen, like, call that out absolutely individually, because that was just horrific chat. Like, what's the point? So I absolutely slaughter that. But yeah, as well, I would say Finley Pollock, absolutely outstanding. I felt that he was very, very aggressive, very willing to get on the ball, didn't shy away, just gave his absolute all for the cause after coming on a very, very impressive debut. I'm delighted that we'll have him till January at least. I would not be surprised in the slightest if Hearts say at the first opportunity you're coming back to Tynecastle. But yeah, we'll make the most of him while he's here, because he looked like a very able sort of replacement. And a lot more sort of dynamic than I would say that I probably thought. I think I'd sort of seen him as being that attacking midfielder. To see him as sort of a wide sort of player, really, really positive. I would actually give the man of the match for me to Kieran Freeman. I felt that to come back, and at all the points that you've made, Alan, that he came back in, he's had a lot of critics and a lot of questions over him. Came back for the game against Kirkcaldy and Dysart, but then and sort of partially against Ayr, but then he didn't manage to get back for the derby. Stood up, absolutely counted, really aggressive in terms of his play going forward, showed a lot of confidence, a lot of spirit. And I think that if we can keep him fit as the right back, it will solve a hell of a lot of the problems that we've got as a team, and make us look going forward. And I think also as well, I know that we've been quite disparaging to using the 5 at the back, but I think that if we do get the centre halves fit and then we keep Freeman fit, then that becomes an option. I'm not sure. I mean, how successful it would be maybe with Lewis Stevenson going forward is maybe arguable. He'd prefer it to be a left back. I know that was sort of the point touched on the podcast before, but yeah, it just gives us that extra dynamic going forward. Very positive. It's also worth mentioning, I know that we had a lot of back and forth with them last season, but the Dode Fox podcast, which is the Dundee United podcast, did a 3-hour long interview with Kieran Freeman, and I'd actually encourage you to listen to it, because he's just got a really good story. He comes across really, really as a good guy, like just down to earth, really chatty, like really switched on. Just someone that sounds like he's your mate playing football. Like that's the way it came across. So well worth a listen to if you've got the 3 hours at your will. Alan, your dogs might be getting tired if you're going out and listen to that. But yeah, that will wrap up our coverage from that game yesterday. We'll of course be back against the Invincibles, our Falkirk, who obviously fell to a defeat in the League Cup. Ian's rolling his eyes there for Spotify listeners. Hopefully we can end that nonsense. Hopefully we can get back to winning ways and get a raucous support at Starks Park for that one. But until then, thank you for listening, and bye for now.